Okay, Dalet Amud Bet. Yes, this is good.
Where's on Dalet Amud Bet?
The second line. Tana He'arel V'Atamei. Okay, so the actual good news is we have a whole piece of Agadata that we're going to get to in a few lines, some of which is appropriate to thinking about change, which makes it appropriate to this time of year. The other piece, it's good to have it because it's a standalone piece. But what we have to deal with first for about a dozen lines is another brisa, an explanation listing people who are excluded or exempted from bringing the korban of the Olas Riyah, right? Pretty much what we've had from Bet and Gimel and Dalet has been a listing of discussions about them. Okay.
I'm surprised about the Arel though.
So correct. Okay. So the Gemara, the Brisa quotes and says Arel, the Jew is not circumcised. Arel could be an Arel because of hemophilia.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Two kids
Today,
died.
but then of course they didn't know he
But they didn't know what it was. But if kids die and they
Two kids died. The third.
Yeah,
they understood. They got it. They understood some genetics that if it happens in the family, it's probably not a good thing. Okay.
Sure.
Or it could be a Jew who was never circumcised for whatever reason.
Right. But I'm surprised that he
didn't circumcise him later.
No, but yeah, even if he's not.
You know, we in the Hellenistic era.
They used to stretch it over.
Yes, that's correct. They tried to undo circumcision. So,
but even, I mean, if you say what do you call it, the Pesach, it's clear in the Torah, Arel can't eat it.
Correct.
Here, I'm surprised.
Right, correct. So the Gemara wants to understand why. So Tana Arel v'Atame P'tumin Ariyah. So Tame, makes a whole lot of sense.
Absolutely.
They can now. But it means Pata from Riyah means that a person's Tame can't even send it with someone else.
Right.
That's what it means, Pata min Ariyah. So obviously a Tame person can't go to the Beis Mikdash. So the Gemara tries to understand why these two go together. Bishlam Tame Dichsiv Uvasa Shama Ve'avesim Shama. So talks about you're going to go there, you're going to bring there when you come there. So which means that the Psukim are talking about bringing the Olas Riyah to the Beis Mikdash. So you understand, Kol Sheyeshno B'Biyah, whoever can go there, Yeshno B'Ava. If you can go there, Uvasa Shama, then you can be Ve'avesim Shama. B'Chol She'eno B'Biyah, whoever can't go up there, Eino B'Havaya. So in other words, going and bringing go together in the scenario of the Torah. Uvasa Shama Vavesim Shama. So therefore, a person who cannot go up on the Beis Mikdash, not because of a physical defect or whatever, simply he happens to be Tameh at the moment, can't have someone bring it up for him. So we understand the Tameh. Ela Arel Minalan.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be the deficiency? What would be the exemption of an Arel from bringing a korban olas riyah? So the Gemara says, Hamani Rabbi Akiva he. This is Rabbi Akiva's opinion. The Marbi le'Arel kitame, who compares or includes an Arel like a tame, equates the two of them, even though they're of course very, very different. But an Orel is you could say a person is like his goof is tameh. He never cleansed himself from the completion of the human body. The same way that a tameh person is not complete. He's come into contact with the dead. The Tanya Rabbi Kiva Omer ish l'rabos is Orel. So it says in terms of I forget which korban this is talking about, or which yontav ish asher yavar, something like that. So it includes that an arel is because the word ish is repeated twice. Okay, so this is the shita of Rabbi Akiva, and the Gemara brings a variation now. Tan Rabbanan Tame Patum in Ariyah. This is the same statement like in the Brises before. And now we have one more piece here. Rav Yochanan ben Dahavai Omer Mishum Rav Yehuda Suma be'achas mein of Patum and Ariyah. This I think we saw before, right? That if you're blind in one eye, Shnemar Yireh Yera'eh. It says Le'ra'o, so Yera'eh. So you read it. It doesn't mean that it says Yera'eh and Yireh, but it means you can read it both ways. Which means Yera'eh, you shall be seen, but you shall be seen the way the Almighty sees you. In other words, the kederach shaba liros, kach ba liros. The same way that you see is the way that you are seen. Ma ba liros b'shtein. Of the same way the Almighty looks at you with a complete vision. Doesn't mean that God has two eyes, but God sees everything. Nothing is hidden from the Almighty. Af liros b'shtein. So seeing has to be the complete vision, which is the stereo vision of two eyes. Okay.
So the whole thing of Orel is just Rabbi Akiva's Ish. That's
correct. So this brisa, this what's called Tana, which is a type of a brisa, is following the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, to say that Orel is going to be excluded, right?
It's interesting because the Rabbi Steinsaltz here, I don't know if this is the equation. He says, "V'ne'emar ish mizera Aaron." Tzarua,
oh, it's not Tzarua. It's correct.
So I guess.
So Tzarua is comparing Tameh.
Right.
The fact that there's a second ish is used as some kind of Gzeira Shava or Hekesh to extend it as well to an Orel. Right. Okay. Okay. Now, what should actually be the reason an Orel is defective or can't go? So we use the term that it's like he's like Tomei, it's like he's not complete. The Rambam and some of the others, some of the other Rishonim try to understand this almost like it's ma'us. It's like not as incomplete, but it's despicable. In other words, the fact that the Jew or the beauty of the Jew to complete the body is what bris milah is. And that's the bris, however you think about it. So therefore a person who is denied this or is unable to do this, so therefore he is considered not befitting to God. The same way that a Tameh person who is also in a state of, let's call it disheveledness, having come into contact with a mace, is away from the Beis Mikdash, so too this person as well.
We use the word oral when it refers to goyim, not in such a nice... It's not such a nice...
Correct.
Yeah. I agree.
We use the term,
that's why...
We use the term goy. We use the term goy also not in a nice way. But we use the term goy also.
But oral we use...
But the oral is the real pejorative.
I think sometimes in Tanakh it calls them oral.
And I assume that just because it's talking about the Alas Riyah, it's also talking about Chagigah as well.
Correct. It's probably talking about the other Kabbalas as well. Right.
Is it all Kabbalas?
The Kabbalas that relate to Yantiv probably.
No, but if he's disgusting, why shouldn't he be allowed to bring any order?
So that's a good question. Why should he be any carbon? I don't know. I guess you have the certain Kabbalas you have to bring. So you can't be excluded from everything.
So get circumcised and bring it.
Well, so we said when he might be medically unable to be circumcised.
Too bad.
Right?
Just
too bad?
A lot of stuff is too bad.
Right. So but maybe it's too bad for some and not too bad for some others. Okay. Anyways, so this really completes this whole long discussion about different types of excluded people.
What does Rome before he was the first one that was circumcised?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. What was he missing in terms of God's relationship before that? Like what couldn't he do? Or if he had the rule, what was missing before he became?
I don't know. Maybe
there was something. No?
Maybe a higher level. Maybe his salech l'fanai. I don't know. Maybe God was more open in his vision to Avram. There is something in the Midrashim, correct? Right? Something changes. The other thing that changes, by the way, is that the non-Jews stay away from him. That's in other words, the third day after Bris Milah, the Almighty appears to him in those angels.
Yeah, the angels come.
Oh, he's coming for a Refuah Shlema, it's Bika Cholim. But it's also, and I forget who said it, might have been Rashi Soloveitchik, might have been someone else, who said that the moment that Avram circumcised himself, and that became a physical separation from the Jew and every other member of the human race, people went back in abhorrence. Look, there's a certain sexual content or pseudo-sexual content in doing an operation on the male organ. There's something there.
In those days,
right? Especially in those days, especially in the primitive society. So it would be seen as mutilation by other people.
The Greeks certainly looked at it that way.
So this suddenly separated, and the fact that Avram had the operation is one thing. The fact that nobody came to visit him.
Who would know? Like they didn't advertise.
See, right? So you're right. So it's reading into the psukim. You're right. It's reading it into the psukim because the simple pshat is he's recuperating.
Yeah.
Right. But the extinction is to say that there was really at that point he was really on one side and everybody else was on the other.
Plus, we're not to assume that he was. We know he had good friends among the goyim. Right later, I don't remember which stage. A few really good compatriots. So I don't think we can assume that he didn't talk to people. He might have been an important man in the community.
You look at the natives. The natives in Africa, different places, they do all kind of mutilations and
absolutely.
So
but truly, the Greek, you can see the opposite point of view.
So that's
says,
correct. So we
God
don't know.
created you one way, and you're just taking it off.
Yeah, but you see natives have all kind of mutilations. I don't know. Go to the list.
See the other point.
Well, whatever it is, what's clearly true is that in Western society, until modernity, this has been the sign of the Jew.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Rabbi, was Eliezer circumcised?
I don't know. The servant of Abraham.
Yeah.
He's a right-hand man?
Don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Circumcised.
Well, didn't it say? Yeah, it says something about
Was this the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, or is this the deciding opinion?
Is this the deciding opinion?
Every Canaanite have to be circumcised?
No, not every time, but the people in his house, it says.
Or is he just a Dat Yechidi?
I think it's a Dat Yechidi. That's what the Gemara is always saying. The Gemara says, why should an oral be excluded? But I mean, because every exclusion is a drash.
Right.
No,
Yes, for sure.
It's all based upon you have to see completely. It says you have to go palmim shalosh regalim. Therefore, a person who's a chagigah or has got a peg leg can't go up.
Right.
But none of this is simple pshat.
For sure not.
Right.
So I'm saying no.
This is Dat Yechidi.
So it looks like a das yechidi, correct?
Yes.
So
It's not listed in our Mishnah.
Aha, that's also true.
Right.
So it could very well be, this is just the opinion of Rabbi Akiva in regards to these particular karbanot, and it could be for other karbanot, an Arel could be able to bring.
Or more importantly, for other karbanos, not only he could bring it, but he could bring all karbanos, even this karban, according to everybody else.
The majority opinion, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely would seem to be what's going on here.
Is it in our Mishnah? No.
No, it's not in our
It's
Mishnah.
not in our Mishnah. Not
Okay. Good. All right. Okay. I think it's just a das yachid. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, let's come to this long piece of Agadata. So the Gemara gets into this Agadata through a back end because about this idea of Yireh Yera'eh. That the same way that God has to look upon me completely, so I have to look complete. So completely out of left field, Rav Huna, Himata Lahai Kra, Yireh Yera'eh, which is where the word Yera'eh, Bachi. When he would get to this word, Le'ra'os or Yera'eh, he would begin to cry. Why would he cry? Because he realized what it really could mean in a moralistic way. Omar, Evet Sharabo Metzapelo Liroto, Yitrachek Mimenu. In other words, if they talk about God wanting to see us completely, and suddenly in the era that's post the destruction, this Hester upon him, the master is going to send away the Eved. He's been waiting to see the Eved for all these years, and now he's closed the door. Tichsiv ki savo leros panai mi bikesh zos mietchem ramos chatzerai. This is a pasuk on it's Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah, right? When you're trampling my courtyard, what are you doing? Why are you here? Right? Of course, the Navi is railing against the injustices that took place in this time.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is one. Now, having thrown this one-liner in that Rav Huna would cry when he came to this pasuk in the Torah, we have now a whole slew of these. Well, when so-and-so came to the pasuk, he began to cry. When so-and-so became to the pasuk, he began to cry.
But he holds that this thing is true, that Hashem, in this case, for
but no,
example,
but I'm saying, forget reading the halacha.
Right.
He says, read the moral value. The Almighty wants to see us. The drash of having two eyes, being double vision, to be able to go up to the Harabayit, to bring the Korban Riyah, means that the same way that the Almighty sees me completely and looks out for me, so I have to see completely. But the premise is the Almighty always looks out for us. So the Almighty always looks out for us, and now suddenly He closed the door on us.
like he did in that pasuk. like that.
Like he did in history.
No, but I'm saying this pasuk says that he did too.
Correct.
Thinking about it, one could make the point that since our vision, for example, my vision is not 20/20, and I require glasses.
Yes.
I should not be able to bring the korban also.
So you're not a blind person.
No, but I don't see completely.
So what is completely? Even with glasses, how complete do you see? Right? In other words, in an age before glasses were invented, people saw.
They didn't know. Nobody knew about
Eventually,
it.
you could still read. If you're nearsighted, if you're farsighted, the reverse. Correct. Then once again, when you walk, you could limp and walk up to Rabbi. You didn't have to run up when as an athlete. So there are different gradations of what's seeing and hearing. And hearing also. Can you hear? What are the decibel levels of your hearing? I mean, person. So in other words, all of this about cheresh. What does that mean?
Right. Okay.
So it means completely you can't hear anything. You can't see anything in one eye. You're blind. Okay? I mean, I'm sure there is a gray area. What is considered minimal vision? Like, the term we use today, legally blind. Legally blind can still see.
Absolutely.
Right? But it is minimal.
So if he can see with one eye, it's okay? Or?
No.
It's not okay to bring the korban riyah. I'm saying, even though you can see with one eye, but there's a certain perspective that you get. It's what we call stereographic vision, right? Because the eyes are offset. Plus, quite honestly, there are one-eyed people walking around, but there's a certain part of the picture that's missing.
Yeah, sure.
You lose the depth.
You lose the depth. You also lose a certain part.
Part of the field of vision. Yeah.
Okay.
Close an eye, you lose a certain part of the field of vision, the whole right side if you're missing the right side, right? So we have peripheral vision, we have the head-on vision, etc. Okay. We haven't even talked about night vision, people who are deficient. That still can see and seeing, okay, or colorblind. There's all kinds of variations.
You bring the korban in the daytime.
There you go. You wouldn't know if it's a red. You wouldn't know if it's a paraduma. You wouldn't know if it's a paraduma if you have red-green color vision.
You bring a black and white korban, right?
That's correct. There we go. Now, next one. So once again, so this is how we got into this. And how did we get into? Because Rafuna came to this pasuk. Guess what? He came to another pasuk. He was a very ragish person. Rafuna kimat el-haikra bachi. Okay, came to another pasuk in Dvarim. V'zavachta shlamim v'yachalta sham. Okay, you're going to slaughter shlamim and eat them there. So in other words, the Almighty is telling you in I think Shoftim or maybe it's Kiseitze that you're going to go to the base of Mikdash, and you're going to eat karbanos there. God says, this is what you're going to do. I'm waiting for you to bring the karbanos there. So same. Evet sherabo matzapa lechol al shulchano yisrachik mimenu. The master is waiting for us to eat, to bring the zavach the shlamim. Who the shlamim for? The shlamim for God. They're going to eat together, so to speak. God and the Israelite. And yet, what happened? Yitvachek mimenu, he's going to be far away. Tichsiv lama li rov zivchechem. This is Parshas Chazon, the Haftarah Shabbos Chazon, Yeshaya Aleph. Why do I need your kabbalah, says God, Yomar Hashem. So in other words, they're reflecting upon the message of the Navi, which is in contradistinction to the promises or the vision of looking ahead in the Torah. Okay? Next, okay, now we're really getting far off topic, and this is not even Rav Huna now, Rav Elazar, Kimat Lahai Kra Bachi. When Rav Elazar came to the following pasuk, he began to cry. There's actually a very famous pasuk. V'layachlo echav lanos oso kiniv halumi panav. His brothers couldn't answer him because they were what do we say? Nifhalu. They were astounded in front of him. And says the Gemara once again, a very famous Gemara, Ma tochacha shabasav adam kach tochacha shel kadosh baruch hu lachas kama v'kama. If they couldn't stand in front of Yosef when Yosef read him and showed him what the story was and told him the truth, how can we stand before the Almighty when the Almighty will kind of show us what we've done and what we're guilty for? It was clearly a moment of truth when Yosef said he's Yosef, because the brothers realized that everything they tried to hide was now a rois. And therefore the same thing is, of course, in terms of our relationship with the Almighty. Okay? By the way, I just saw an interesting statement from Ben Abachaya. Fascinating. What happens when Yaakov dies in the Yosef story? Yosef has revealed himself, the brothers come down, Yaakov comes down. So when Yaakov dies, the brothers go to Yosef, And they say, Ko Amar Avicha, right? Ana Sana Pshoecha, V'chatasecha, Ki Rabba Gmucha, V'yata Sana L'Pesha Avdei Avicha, V'yevk Yosef V'dabra Melav. And they said, Hinen L'chol Avadim, and Yosef said, don't worry. So Rabbeinu Bachai says, if you read it carefully, even though Yosef reassured them and said, don't worry, this was the plan of God, but Yosef never accepts their attempt to say that Sona Peshachecha. He never says Salachti Kidvarecha. Okay, read it carefully. We always read it. Yosef reconciles with his brother. The question is, did the father really tell the brothers to say this? Did they make this up? Was it really? Did they feel they go to Yosef when, without saying the father sent them, Yosef wouldn't even look at them? Who knows what would happen? They wanted to create guilt about the father. Yada yada yada. But that's one question. The question of Rabbeinu Bachai says, did Yosef really ever accept their attempt to reconcile with them, assuming the attempt was genuine? Says Rabbeinu Bachai, no, something was missing. When you have on Yom Kippur a person who comes and says, forgive me, right? And the scenario comes once, comes twice, comes three times. You have to say, Solachti, I accept what you've done.
They come three times?
So the Gemara says, that if you, it's actually the Bach says, that there are three times, says, Ana, Sa, Na, Peshav de Avicha, V'yata Sana. So Ana and Sana are three times, right? Ana, Sana.
Ana's I. That's not three.
No, Ana's please.
Please what?
So the Bach and others say the fact that the Torah went. Correct. So you don't like Drash. I'm sorry. Okay. But that's how they try.
Apology. That's all.
No, but I'm saying, the Bach and the others are bothered by you're supposed to ask for three times.
Please forgive us.
No, you don't find they ask for three times. So how often do they go back? So that's why I say you can read in the pasuk along the lines of drashaology, so to speak. Right. The way you take a bunch of words and you kind of tweak them and squeeze them.
Why didn't he say, I forgive you? Why didn't he?
I don't know. The Rabbeinu Bachai doesn't say that, but Rabbeinu Bachai says, because of that, and this is the kicker of Rabbeinu Bachai, because Yosef did not ever say Salachti, centuries later the story of Asar Rugi Malchus occurs,
but it's not the same.
That the Roman general can say, you sold your brother, your ancestor sold your brother, and therefore the punishment for selling is killing, is right.
But what do you want from these guys? These are not his brothers.
Please chill out. Okay. So therefore, in other words, if the whole story had been reconciled,
sure.
If the slate was wiped clean, then everyone lives happily ever after. Then the Asar Rugi Malchus, the whole scenario, which by the story of Asar Rugi Malchus never existed as we read it, as you know, right? These 10 rabbis did not live together in one time. So there's no such thing. They called them the 10 rabbis and they went to ask God. It's really a combination, a syncretism of a lot of different persecutions. The basic theme is, of course, Jews were killed. Basic theme is rabbis were tortured because they were leaders. All right? But the bottom line is, the way it's couched as a punishment for selling Yosef, says Rabbeinu Bachai, it's fascinating, is because Yosef did not say, I am sorry, I accept your request. Okay, that's not the simple pshat. If you read the story, it looks like Yosef saying, "Okay, we'll live happily ever after." Sure, you didn't mean it. You meant it, but God had a different plan. I'm here. This was the way it was supposed to be. So I understand. So we'll live happily ever after. But Rein Rechai says, "Nope." So
maybe he's answering the way they're expressing it to him. They're not actually saying the story.
Okay.
They're not saying, "Look, hey, we're about to kill you." You know,
I agree.
We're really regret what we did here.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get a proper apology. They're ready to kill him.
The point is very well taken. He never really does say,
So now when you'll have all this time in Yom Kippur, you'll read the story again. You find the Chumash in the thing in front of your seat.
Right.
And you look at it, read it carefully. You can say the Rabbeinu Bachai is saying what's correct.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You read it carefully. Yosef is very careful to say things, but the words are missing to say, yes, I accept your apology. But the point, but of course, Rabbeinu Bachai is trying to bring a moralistic lesson, how important it is to actually say that you actually accept the forgiveness. Not to say, all right, you came, we're done, but let's go on. Right? That's what happens. Right? People, there's this scenario where you hurt someone, or you've insulted someone, or you've stolen from someone, or whatever it is, you've impugned someone, you go back and ask forgiveness. Okay?
So the lesson of the story is to say Salachti Kivarecha. That's the lesson.
Yeah.
The lesson is to accept it completely.
You know what's missing here too? Where's the apology for these guys to the father? I never saw anything to Yaakov. Where's the apology for that one? They made him suffer for how many years?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
And not to mention Yosef not letting his father suffer.
But Yosef also made his father suffer. Oh yeah, what a story. There you go now.
And you know, it's one of those things, all of Mazeh, and you have the Karen, all that, if you kabenet avicha, but that's
the principle.
in the davening, you know.
Okay.
There are a few things that...
Okay.
Now that's a good word for Yom Kippur.
Yes, it is.
That's a very good word for Yom
Karen is the
Kippur.
principle, the capital.
I know, you know what?
That's what I'm telling you.
Story.
I said over now. It's every Yom Kippur.
Maybe I'll mention that in my
Okay, well,
speech.
Karen Kayenne
Right.
is the principal forever.
Okay. That's right. It's Rabbeinu
That
B'chai.
was the idea.
Okay.
Okay.
But you know, I understand why do we take a total anti-Semite and make this the story? The guy he was killing Jews. He was interested in killing Jews.
Which
the king,
anti-Semite?
whatever his name is, the king.
Oh, which
The Roman king. The Roman
The
general.
Roman king.
Yeah.
So whoever this unnamed Roman general or
Whoever, we
Caesar
don't know
or
who that guy is.
whoever
Just
it
use an
is.
excuse. That's all. They do it to us.
Correct.
Well,
So
You're rich, you're poor, whatever you want. It doesn't matter what it is.
So the answer is the whole story. By the way, the whole story of Asar Rugei Malchus, which really has the pathos of medieval Europe written all over it. The whole story is to say that you can't understand when bad things happen to good people.
Exactly.
That's it, and
That's the
and in
deal.
fact, in the version that we have on Yom Kippur, where they send in which was the Kohen, Rav Yochanan Kohen Gadol, who goes and they say, we'll send you up to the heavens to go find out why this is. He goes me'achorei pargud, he goes behind the curtain, he travels up to heaven, and they, what's going on here, and they say that's just the way it is. You can't question, and if you question it, we will turn this all into tohu vavohu. Sometimes man can't understand, even when it runs against faith.
Okay.
But the problem, but you can see why they do, because they think that Hashem ordains all this.
Great.
Well, surely He must have ordained it for a reason.
So that the Rabbeinu B'chai is really based upon the fact that all of Jewish history has some kind of theological theme. In fact, all of Tanakh is pretty much like that. That if the Jews are good, then they're rewarded. The Jews are bad, they get beaten up and sent out of the land. The whole Nevi'im are set up like that, and as a result, the story of Yosef should fall in the same category of whatever it is. So at any rate, we're kind of digressing. Okay. Anyways, next story. Okay, next story is also a Tanakh story. It's also Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar kimat lahai kra b'achis. So this is the next pasuk is a little more convoluted. This is about when Shaul
Called Shmuel, yeah.
right before his last battle with the Plishtim, he goes to call in the witch of Endor.
This is the only place I can think of in Tanakh that shows you that there is an Olam Haba and that the spirits are... I'm just trying to think of another place.
So the question really is, did this really happen?
That's another story.
No. Did this really happen? The Rambam, I believe, says it didn't. This was all a dream that Shaul had, or she made it seem as if this was taking place, and she played on his mind so that he actually believed it was taking place, but it didn't really happen. But most simplistic approaches, most pshat say, she was able to somehow occultic black magic, which is a question unto itself. Did this really have power?
That's why.
And how could she bring power to invoke Shmuel and bring him up from the dead? This is a witch with black magic, not nevuah. So, but it happened. So, but the story gets a little more complicated in this midrashic expansion. So when Rabbi Lezer got to this pasuk, he began to cry. Now, the pasuk itself is not that harsh until you see how the Gemara understands it. Vayom Shmuel Shaul, lama hergaztani la'alososi. Okay, why did you anger me to bring me up? So what's so bad about that? Why should we be afraid of that?
Rest in peace.
So so why should we be upset? Are we being disturbed? Are we afraid we're going to get pulled out of the grave? So the Gemara says, Uma Shmuel HaTzadik. This is what Rabbi Lazar was afraid of. Uma Shmuel HaTzadik Hayam Misyar Min Adin Ano Alachas Kama V'Kama. The reason that Shmuel was afraid, we call him Shmuel Tzadik, we call him Shmuel Navi, was afraid that he was being brought up from the grave. He thought he was going to be pulled into judgment. He thought a heavenly court had been put into session, and he was being recalled now. His case was being reviewed, and he was going to stand in the docket, and they're going to go through everything again. Because otherwise, he couldn't understand why his spirit would be disturbed. This is all very, very difficult probably explain.
Yeah.
But in other words, so right away we've kind of gone over the limit in the simple pshat. Rabbi Elazar is saying when he gets to this pasuk, he's bothered. What's he bothered by?
Right.
If Shmuel was bothered by being summoned for he's afraid to be summoned for Yom Adin, or it's another Yom Adin, so we of course should be afraid of Yom Adin. Anu alachas kama v'kama. Now, how do you know that Shmuel is being summoned, was afraid to be summoned for Yom Adin for another din? So that's completely far afield. So now the Gemara must explain that. So I said it's a little convoluted. But the basis for why Rabbi Elazar felt that began to tremble or began to cry when he read this was based upon what he felt was a simple pshat that Shmuel was concerned he was being recalled for an additional judgment. Okay, so where does it come from? Dichsiv. Okay, once again, this is drashaology, as I sometimes say. It says Vatomer Isha El Shaul. So the woman, the witch, is having this seance, and they're sitting there, and all of a sudden she says, I see Elohim Ro'isi Olim, I see a god, or a godly figure coming up. Right? She's there, and Shaul is, of course, trembling. He's going for this, to have his tea leaves read. He's going for the seance. And suddenly, she makes all the usual witch noises, and suddenly she says, and I see in my vision, in my crystal ball, I see Elohim coming up. Now, Elohim can, of course, mean a leader. Nasi is called Elohim, or, of course, it can refer to Elohim, some kind of spiritual being, which could be a spirit of some sort. Not Elohim as we think God Almighty, but Elohim could also refer to angels and spirits and so forth. So the pasuk says, I see Elohim Olim going up. Now Elohim as a noun is always a plural noun, right? It just, that's the way the noun is written.
Exactly.
Right? It's unusual that we have a noun referring to one God that's written in the plural.
It's the royal. It's the respect. It's like the royal we, not the royal we, but the respectful way of.
I think it is also a generic term for gods. It's clearly a generic term for gods.
Yeah, for gods too. But
so when I say Elokeinu, I mean my deity.
Right.
If I didn't say my deity,
for Elohim, it's not Elohai or Elohim.
There is Eloka.
Yeah.
Right. There is Elohai.
Yeah.
Correct. But no, Elohai is my gods.
My God.
There is no Elohi.
There is not. Okay, I'll look it up. I'll go home and look it up.
It's a plural. We don't know why.
No, I know it's a plural. But I always thought the plural
there is
was respect for Hashem.
I know what you're saying. You're saying it's like the king used to say, we order, right? Even
like it's like a respectful.
Well, the word is in the plural.
It's a cognate. It's written in the plural, but of course, any verb that goes with it is singular. Vayomer Elokim, Vaydaber Elokim.
Yeah. No,
it's like Mayim. Like Mayim is a plural too, but it's
Breishis bara Elokim.
Right. Singular.
So in this sentence, though, the witch says, "I see Elokim Olim."
Olim in the plural.
So it looks like there are beings because the noun is in the plural.
Verb.
No, the noun is in the plural. So the only meaning here could be I see gods, spirits coming up olim b'lashon rabim.
Yeah.
So the Gemara says, and that's got to be pshat, of course. Trei mashma, she sees two. So who's the two? We only know that the person that shows up is Shmuel.
Right,
or at least a vision, an apparition of Shmuel, or at least if it's all a dream, Shaul believes it's Shmuel.
Right.
But Shaul asked for Shmuel, right?
He does.
Yeah.
He asked just for Shmuel.
Right. And if she's a skilled pseudo witch, she would know how to play on what Shmuel was, either remember who he was, right, or kind of come up with something. It's like saying, I don't know, if they say, can you conjure up Martin Luther King? I see a black preacher and he says, I have a dream. Whoa, it must really be Martin Luther King, right? So people must have known things about Shmuel as well, even though he was dead. Or else, Shaul is in such an agitated state, right? She could make him believe it was. Or it was Shmuel, right? The whole thing is just a whole very difficult scenario.
He thinks she's a witch? Is that what you're thinking?
She is a witch. She is a witch.
Why is he, I don't understand. What's he doing?
Because God is no longer communicating to him.
So what?
He's trying to get
he wants to know. He's desperate.
It's called idol worshiping. That's what the Torah calls it.
Yeah, well, it's not idol worshipping. It's necromancy.
No, but it's
when he wasn't worshiping the witch.
When it talks about it, the Chumash, not to do it.
So idol worshipping is not idol worshipping. It's black magic.
Leads to it or something.
Okay. Well, it says
We're not supposed to do it bichlal.
right.
Here he asked for Shmuel.
Right. It's the big machloket when it says machashifa lo techayeh. You can't keep alive a machashifa, machashev. So is that because they will misguide you, or it's because these powers are off limits? Right.
Or they're fake.
Leads you to idol worship.
Maybe.
That's where it goes.
Okay, but he wasn't going to idol worship. He's going to battle against the Plishtim. Okay, so at any rate, so there are two people. So who's the second person?
Who's the second person?
Right? So now we got second person. So the Gemara says Chad. Who are they? Trei Mashma Chad Shmuel. V'idach, and the second guy, who would Shmuel bring for backup? Who's going to be Shmuel's lifeline? Who's he going to call in for character reference? So the Azal Shmuel v'asye Moshe bahadei. He went to go bring Moses, right? Now, what is he going to bring Moses? In fact, Moshe and Shmuel go together. Moshe of Aaron b'chana b'Shmuel b'korei Shemo. Right? It's in the Kabbalah Shabbos. Somehow, it's in Kabbalah.
Yes, it's right there when you read the.
In the last paragraph of Kabbalah Shabbos. Moshe v'Aaron b'chana b'Shmo b'korei Shemo. V'oivel Hashem v'yanein.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
And he answers. They call on God and he answers.
Yeah.
The next sentence that he answers.
V'namur Adonai yidaber aleim Shemo yidasav v'chok nasan lamo. Hashem Elokeinu. Yeah. Right, the paragraph right before Mizmor David that said fifth paragraph. So, but all, you see, Shmuel goes together with Moshe. The reason he wanted to get Moshe because Moshe was the heaviest hitter. He thought he was in big trouble. In this understanding of Rabbi Lezer, the Gemara at least, okay? So all of this, by the way, is the Gemara explaining what's going on. This is not Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer simply says, I get to this pasuk. Everybody knows what the pasuk means, and I began to cry. Now we got to understand why he was crying, because you and I didn't understand what this pasuk means.
It appears Gemara is interpreting this whole incident literally.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Gemara is understanding this whole incident in a way that we never understood before. Yeah, great.
But the actual
it's not a dream that Shaul had. It's
of course. Yes.
It's mamish reality.
Yes, I agree.
That's what it sounds like.
Rambam was a rationalist. He's clear this, but it's a gadita.
Yeah, it's bothering.
He's a gadita. It's not a halacha. It's not a halacha that you pass like this Gemara. It's not gada.
No,
so if you are a rationalist, you would have difficulty saying this agada is really metamorphic or something is symbolic. Okay.
Homily,
homily, something about
it. It's clear.
Right. Okay.
Exactly that.
So however it happens in this story, Shmuel goes to get Moshe. Why? Because he's afraid he's being summoned for judgment. So Amalei, so Shmuel says to Moshe in this scenario, Dilma chas v'shalom adina mitbaina. Maybe they're calling me chas v'shalom up to a din, to the base din for the Yom Adin again. Kum bahadei, you should come stand with me. He gets him along. The leka milsa dechasavta baraisa lo kiyamtiya. That there's nothing that's written in the Torah that you didn't do. Maybe they're going to call me in on something I didn't do well, right? But I know if I got you'll defeat these forces that are trying to go after me because you can be the character witness and the best example that man can be perfect, or almost perfect, so to speak. Okay, that's why Rabbi Lazar was afraid when he came to this pasuk, because if Shmuel was terrified of Yom Adin, what's going to happen to us when we go to the Yom Adin? Okay. There you go. That's the whole piece.
We can't bring Moshe.
You can't call in Moshe, correct?
Why not?
Bring in Schusavos, bring in yourself, but the bottom line is, they bring it all out, right? They play the whole video from beginning to end. The rap sheet is unfurled. They have every.
It sounds like you might be able to get character witnesses.
That's true, correct. You appeal for leniency and clemency. That's right.
You're like a lawyer.
Yeah, well.
Exactly. Never hurts.
The bottom line is, when Rabbi Lezer came to this pasuk, he was really upset about it. You and I come to this pasuk, and we say we don't understand what's going on. How could she conjure up the people? And he looked at it differently. Okay. Another one. Rabbi Ami Kamata Lahai Kra Bachim. When Rabbi Ami came to this pasuk, the following pasuk, he cried, says, Bakshu Tzedek, Bakshu Anava.
So, I'm sorry.
Did I skip a line? I skipped a line. Rabbi Ravami kimat l'haikra bach. It says Yitein be'afar pihu ulai yesh tikva. The person will be punished, or was punished, that he will have dirt put in his mouth. This is the ultimate degradation. Ulai yesh tikva. Maybe there will be hope. In other words, after going through all this, maybe there's some hope. So said Amar Kuli Hai the Ulai. After all of this, all this punishment from Hashem, and maybe there's hope. In other words, as much as we suffer and suffer and suffer, there's no guarantee. So the person accepts this upon himself, and that's it. Maybe, possibly, maybe not. So it became this a pasuk in Eicha. Rabbi Ami kimat l'haikra. Rabbi Ami, a similar kind of thing with a different pasuk in Tzfanya. He's Bachi with Christ. Says Bakshu tzedek, Bakshu anava, Ulai tistaru. Seek tzedek, justice, and seek humility. Maybe the evil will become hidden. Ulai tistaru b'yom Hashem. Maybe you'll be hidden on the day of God's anger, and God's anger will miss you. Maybe. Amar Kuli Hai. Ulai, I got to do all justice and righteousness and humility and still maybe not. Okay. Same idea. Right, and the next one, Ravasi kimat l'haikra bach. When Ravasi came to the pasuk, he cried, "Sinu ra, sanu ra v'avu tov, hate evil and love good, v'atzigu b'shar mishpat, and to present in the gate of justice, ula yichanein Hashem elokei tzvos." So it's a pasuk in Numbers. Maybe God will show chen, will show grace to you. So same thing. Kuli hai. Ulai, I got to do justice, and I got to love justice, and I got to hate evil.
Still, there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. It's very depressing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But it might be very realistic.
Right. Actually. Okay. Now the Agada gets real heavy duty, because now we bring in a story about the Malach HaMaves. Okay, so it's going from topic to topic to topic. It's really this long excursus thrown in the middle. What I think has happened is the Gemara, many times when you have a long discussion, a halacha discussion, they throw in something like to as a conclusion, and then topic. So they've really had basic Gimel Dal. It's not really all that long, but all the exemptions. Now we finished that. We're going to talk about some moralistic ideas. Okay, here's an interesting story, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to explain it for you sufficiently to make you happy. Okay, to explain it.
We're a tough crowd.
No, you'll see theologically how difficult it is. I mean, this is all about not feeling satisfied by doing good. Right?
You shouldn't be self-satisfied.
Should be self-satisfied or guaranteed. Nothing is a sure in. You can't gild the situation to make sure that you are guaranteed on the Olam Haba, so to speak, or wherever it is.
There's a saying that you can't. I forget who said it. Till your person's about
can't trust yourself too
much.
This is about what looks like almost injustice. In the same way, the previous examples were saying love good, hate injustice, hate evil, and maybe you'll be saved. That's not what we normally say. We normally say do good and do this, and you will be saved. Do bad and you won't be saved. Here it's like almost maybe. It looks like that fine line. And this is kind of scary thing as you approach Yom Kippur. We change, but maybe not.
Okay. You said before, bad things happen to good people.
Correct. Okay, so here's a story. This is a really difficult story. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef came out to the Haikra. When Rabbi Yosef came to the following pasuk in Mishlei, he cried until all the pasuk until now from the Nevi'im or from the Torah. This one is from Mishlei, from the book of Proverbs. V'yesh nispa below mishpat. There's a person who gets swept away or swept in without justice. Wow! Boom. Okay. It looks like God is not just a. He said, Amar, mi'ika da'aza below zimne. He says, there really a person who gets swept away without justice before their time? Does God really take a person before the time they should have been taken? So the Gemara says, guess what? Yes, it does happen. There are mistakes in the processing line.
I can't believe this.
See, I told you weren't going to be happy. I knew it.
This is directly contradicting a key principle of Kadosh Baruch Hu, that He doesn't make mistakes, period.
Well, it's not a Kadosh Baruch Hu who makes mistakes.
Assembly line he told
The Malach HaMaves makes mistakes. Okay.
Malach HaMaves operate on his own. That's all.
Correct.
What's it saying? To also below zimne? What does that mean? he dies early. What does it mean?
Yeah, but when
He goes away, I guess. Does he just go away?
Those who go means go away, be taken away
Without the time.
before their time.
Before their
But
time.
what's the
In
time?
other words,
Whatever means that when they die young. The problem is nobody knows what time. Nobody knows how long you're supposed to
someone
live.
who's taken away before their time is someone who dies young. But you're saying someone who's taken away should live to 80, but they get taken away at 60 because
Yeah.
the
Could be-
mistake.
Could be
was a mistake in the-
79. It could be 79 and a half.
Yeah, but it was a mistake in the paperwork.
Right,
That's
correct.
what you're saying.
Right, correct. The parcel got delivered to the wrong
I
address.
read it wrong or
Let's see
something.
what it says.
Okay, let's go on.
Remember, like Adam get extra years because this one they took it from this animal, they gave it to him.
It's like
all these
it's
things,
like when they
right,
operate and they operate on the wrong side. They're supposed to operate on the right side. They operate on the left side. Okay, they had the picture was
It's
inverted.
not supposed to, like Jack said, it's not supposed to happen.
I agree. So let's read the story. Let's read the story, then you can
Yeah.
complain afterwards. Okay.
That seems fair.
You'll ask the rabbi.
Let's read the
You'll
story.
ask the
then
rabbi in
we'll
Yom
complain.
Kippur when he talks about doing tshuva and how you're going to be saved. You say, but Rabbi, look at the Gemara in Chagigah Dal on my bed. I learned this. Okay. So here, so he says, it's really true. Gemara says, here's the case. Kiha the Rav Bibi bar Abaye. The Rav Shchiach Gabe Malchamavis. Rav Bibi bar Abaye used to the Malchamavis would visit him. Okay. So he got the inside scoop on Malchamavis. Malchamavis would share with him stories, I guess. So Amalei l'shluchei. So the Malchamavis sent to his messenger. Malchamavis has his whole army of minions who would run around collecting
There's a
people.
lot of people to take in a day. Yeah.
That's correct. That's right. Zil, go, he said to the messenger, Isili, bring me Miriam Magadla Seir Nashaya. Miriam, by the way, the term Mary Magdalene, right, is a term in Christian theology,
yeah.
but this looks very, very similar.
Very similar.
To
Oh
what's
my
going on
God.
in this. It's almost
Miriam
as if to say
Magadla.
that this kind of story, which seems to be poking, I don't say poking fun, but kind of saying that there's lack of justice, somehow gets tied into, I don't know, a person who's rebelling against Judaism and breaking a new faith. Somehow it's tied in. I don't know. I didn't see anyone who explained this, but it seems clearly to me. So, but it's Miriam, it's Magadla Seir Nashaya. Bring me Miriam, the hairdresser, the one who plaits the hair of the women. So,
Was that a code name for Mary Magdalene?
that's what I just said. But
It says
but
Magdala.
Magdalene means what?
It grows, I guess, or
Look at
whatever.
that. Look at that.
Oh,
What,
okay.
I don't know what Mary.
Okay,
What
yeah,
was she?
yeah,
She
thank
was
you.
a prostitute. What was she? She was some kind of.
Wasn't she the wife of Joseph, the fisherman?
No.
I have no idea.
Fisherman? I think she was a prostitute.
Yeah,
before.
she was something.
She
Okay.
was?
Okay.
Jesus,
No idea.
So, anyways,
Here, give me a card.
okay. So he says to his messenger, bring me Miriam Magadla Seir Nashaya. So Azal, the messenger went, Isile, he brought
Right.
Miriam Magadla Dardake, the Miriam who raised the babies, the children. She was the nursery.
Nursery.
Right? This is before.
Too many Miriams.
Amar and I think I skipped. Did I skip? Yeah.
You skipped one.
I see. Right. So Azal.
So in the
right.
case of Magadla, Magadla is being used in two ways. And the first Magadla is about making the hair long, so it's like
Right.
braiding the hair. That's what it means. I said hairdresser, but
Right.
really the job was braiding the long hair of the women, probably to keep it tidy and neat, and probably
Right.
obviously covered or not loose.
Right.
Surely. In the second case, Magadla means to raise.
Raise children.
Right, raise children. Dardikir, little babies, first graders. Okay, so Amalei, so he schleps in the wrong lady. So Amalei, so the Malchamavis says to the Shliach, "Ana Miriam Megadla Seir Nashaya Amilach." I told you that the Miriam of the hair
Right.
braiding. So you got the wrong person here. The person's obviously been deceased. So Amalei, or the soul is brought in, right? So Amalei, so the minion, the Shliach says back to the Malchamavis, "Yihachi Ahadre." Should I bring her back? Okay, all I got to do is bring the soul back, and we'll just revive her.
Probably happened right away. Yeah.
Correct. So Amalei, so the Malchamavis says to his shliach, "Nah, hoil v'asaisa or sisa lehavi leminyana." All right, seeing that you brought her here already, keep her here. Should be one of the numbers here. Okay.
The quota for the month, like
Right.
minion, right? He's saying it's like the quota.
Is this Rav Bibi the son of the famous Abaye?
I don't know.
Okay.
But the famous Abai, maybe, I don't know. It says Ravi or Abai. Maybe, probably. I only know one Abai. The Abai.
Yeah, Abaye.
Okay. So this is the story. He says, all right, keep it here. So the Gemara says, Elaheche yacholos leah. How could this happen? how could the messenger of the Malach HaMavos bring the wrong person? Doesn't everyone have a fixed time, right? All right. So the Gemara says she was doing something that she imperiled herself. And whenever you imperil yourself, you open yourself up to the randomness of nature. Something can happen that you can lose your life, even if it was not set to be. In other words, you could be healthy, and you could have apportioned your life to live to 120, and then you know what? You cross the street and you get hit by a car.
Okay.
So you can't say, well, wait, I've got 60 more years. Why am I going now? The answer was you made a mistake. You cut your life short, not intentionally. So in other words, now what does that mean? That's how we see it. We see a tragic accident that took place. Up there, they interpret that to mean that the Malach HaMavos suddenly had reshus to take you, even though it wasn't only a portion. That's how the Gemara tries to make sense of this and rationalize what the Malach HaMavos story is all about here, and at the same time say there's a just world.
What are the actual words? Havat. We didn't get there, yeah.
Okay, so Hechi Cholisla. So Havat Nikita means, I think we understood it to be, Nikita, she was holding. She was Nakatis to take. She was taking Mitaraya Biyadeh. She was taking, it's like a big poker that goes into the stove, and this big long thing in her hand. V'have Kashadra Umachre Tanura. So she was cleaning out the tanur with the coals. You have to scrape out the coals with this long iron rod. Right now, it's very hot, and she was taking care, but something happened. The anachta agaba de kare, and it came, and this hot poker came on top of her foot. Okay, anachta, it rested agaba on top of agabe de kara, her leg or her foot. The or kadcha. Kadcha is like the hot coal came out and rested on the top of her foot. The itra mazale, and her mazel went down. Her luck became bad. Doesn't mean her luck became bad. It means she got burnt. And because it doesn't mean she instantaneously died from having this hot coal or hot poker suddenly touch her leg. She got an infection, she got a burn, she got whatever it was. Sure, her health was compromised. She died. So, and what happened? VIT son, he was able to take her. Okay?
He was able to take her, yeah.
The Malach was able to take her on that day. It doesn't mean that she took her on the day she got burned. Whatever it was. Yeah. But in other words, what the Gemara is trying to say here is,
she might have normally lived a longer life.
She could have lived a longer life. So she was taken. How does a person get taken before their time? So two things have to happen. One thing is you kind of have to open yourself up. Right? Opening yourself up doesn't mean you have to get hit by a hot poker or get crossing the street. You could catch a disease. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Your immune system is weakened. You catch a deadly illness. These are terrible. There are terrible illnesses out there that 1 in a million people get. If you're the 1 in a million, for you it's 100%. So now we live in a society where we've gotten rid of diseases and illnesses, right? But there are still things out there that are pretty bad. There are super germs. So that's how we see a person who dies because of an illness. In the heavenly scheme of things, they see a person who still had time when they meet her, who is to the Malach HaMavos was given permission to take. That's how the two cases present themselves. They're working in different spheres. They're working in different time zones or zones. But that's how it comes across.
Rabbi, in this case,
let's finish the story. So this is who says the story. So Rabbi sees this and he speaks to the Malach HaMavos guy. He speaks to him. Right. So Amalei Rav Bibi bar Abaye, Islechu Reshuta Lemevet Hachi. Do you have permission to do this? Because we understand people die because things happen, right? They got burned, hit by a car.
They're supposed to die.
But they weren't supposed to die in the scheme of things. What it means that, you would normally say when they crossed the street, their time was up. The bullet had their name on it.
Right.
So now the scenario played itself out. That person was supposed to live until 11 o'clock when they crossed the street and crossed against the light. They thought the road was clear. No, it was all part of the divine plan. They would make that decision and get hit by a car and die then. The Gemara is saying not true. The plan was that the person could have lived longer, but the person has the right person has the right of free will and choice and destiny to even ruin your own plan.
But all she did is did a normal thing.
No, the normal thing was she got burnt. There are certain hazards.
She got burnt doing a normal thing.
Yeah, but she could have done it 100 times before, and a coil didn't come out.
So we don't know how serious this burn is. The impression is like
how
it didn't.
careful she was.
But it doesn't mean like simply like sometimes you touch something hot and you pull yourself back and you get a first-degree burn. This means this was a serious burn over a majority of her leg, maybe a second-degree burn, and in that kind of scenario, her health was compromised. She got infected and she died. Not that day. 6 months later. 4 months later, 2 weeks later.
She didn't do it on purpose.
No one said she did it on purpose. The person who gets hit by the car didn't do it on purpose either.
No,
Say that's Yom Kippur. Who will die before his time?
Maybe Kitzo, Mishalo Bekitzo, who in his time, who not in his time.
Absolutely.
Right, so it means there's a time, there is a set time, and there's a way that you can upend it with the set time. I mean, for us, we don't think this way.
No.
We say we have to daven so we can change the time. Whatever's planned, the time has to be extended or changed. No, the Gemara is saying that it can be extended, but you can still mess it up. But having said that, so we understand how a person can mess it up. But nothing happens unless the Malcham Avos steps in. So a person doesn't die. We say a person dies because whatever it is. The body caves in, but the body caves in because the Malcham Avos has a role from this netherworld kind of theology. So Rabbi says to the Malcham Avos, you got permission to do this? I mean, you got permission to take advantage of this individual who, whatever intentional or unintentional, she had this massive burn.
She had a normal life planned out.
Not just her, she planned her life out. You guys planned her life out. You had the television show for the whole series, the whole season, and she now decides to cut it short. But your season is still running. So the Gemara says, can you do this? So islachu reshus lemevet hachi. So amalei. So the Malcham Avos says, "V'lo ksiv v'yesh nispa below mishpat." So Malcham Avos responds back, right? So he quotes the pasuk in Mishlei. He says Shlomo Melech already said that someone can be taken when it's not their time. So this is the expansion, right, on the whole story. Why Rav Yosef, when he got to this pasuk, began to cry when he realized this, because not only was this a pasuk, there's a story that was attached to the pasuk. Okay, now wait, the story's not finished yet. Amalei, so Rav Bibi Rabbi says back to Malcham Avos, v'haksiv dor holech v'dor ba, generation comes and then generation goes. It's written by the same guy who wrote Mishlei. It's in Koheles. Which means you've got to live out the generation for the generation to come. One generation finishes, the next generation comes. If this person dies earlier, that generation got cut short. So how can that be? Koheles is basically saying there's a stability in the system. Okay, so Amar.
Okay, I'm not going to save it.
Okay, so Amar, so the answer is really going to be very difficult, so whatever it is, but you're thinking maybe even better the answer. So Amar, so Malcham Avos says, Dera'ina lahu ana, adamale lahu ledara, v'hada mashlimna le leduma. He says, I hold on to the soul, I don't turn it over to Duma. Duma is like the chief of Gehenna. Duma means the netherworld. You're right. I took it too early, but I'm going to watch it over, and I don't therefore sell it over to the person, to this Duma, but rather the soul stays with me and travels around the world until their time is really up. They're in this in-between twilight world. They're not alive, and the soul has not yet been taken into either Gan Eden or Gehenna, wherever it is. It's forced to wander around. That's how I make sure that the generation stays static. In other words, I kind of like, it's like, I don't know, when the TV, like in Israel, when the TV show runs, they don't have commercials. TV shows don't end on the hour. They got to have a filler. Right? So in other words, I make a filler that the soul keeps running around. So Rabbi is still upset. He says, Amalei, sof. Shnaya my of this. Okay, so fine, the soul is wandering around, but you shortchange the amount of years. This person was destined to live, let's say they died when they were 60, supposed to destined to live 70. What do you do with the 10 years? In your master plan, there are 10 years been pulled out of the system. There's got to be, the system is elastic, but it's got to be static. So what do you do with all these years of loss? So he answers, Amar, and this is the interesting answer, I'ikatzur b'mirabanan, the mavir b'milei, if there's a rabbi who is Mavir Amidosav, who doesn't stand on principle, he doesn't stand on his kavod. Mosifna lehu lei. I add these orphaned years to him. V'haveh chalufe, and they become the makeup years. No, the years remain constant, but the fact that I shortchange someone, I can keep the years in the cycle of the living by add some to another person, which is of course a very unsatisfying answer.
Conservation of years.
That's correct. There's a conservation of matter, a conservation of years, and therefore so in terms of the soul, it says you're right. The soul does not go to Gan Eden because the time has not yet come. Dor halech v'dor ba. In terms of the actual years of living, I put it onto someone else. So it's
the same generation, hopefully.
Correct. At that point, now as I look around, I see, okay, there's this old Talmud Chacham. He's a great guy. He's not just a great guy, but he doesn't ask for kavod, helps people, etc., etc. So I see maybe he's 80. So he's supposed to die at 80. I'll give him another 10 years to live to 90. And therefore, everyone lives happily ever after, pretty much, in this kind of scenario.
I had some terrific conversations with the Malach HaMavis.
Right.
So he makes a decision, not God?
So it looks like he makes the decision. He is I told you, it's a very unsatisfying.
It is.
Okay. But what it does mean, of course, and I think here's the key to take away from this, is that we are, to some extent, we are masters of our destiny.
Yes.
You can't simply say that, it's set, I prayed, and it's done, I finished Yom Kippur, and it's done. You still have to look after it. You still have to make sure that every day is going to be what it is. And there are things that are predicted, and yet the person still has responsibility.